Guy?
Don't I get to introduce you?
Sure,
Okay.
if you like.
I'd like to introduce Lynn Baker. He'll be speaking to us on jazz education in Southern Europe.
So, in May of 2018, I traveled here to conduct some research as part of my sabbatical project. And my research was designed to build case studies of several jazz studies programs. The history of this is that in 2015, I attended my first International Association of Schools of Jazz meeting in Lisbon and became interested in the various ways that schools of jazz engage in various partnership arrangements. I was interested in learning about arrangements between public and private educational institutions, and for-profit venues, and non-degree granting and degree granting institutions. These types of collaborations are not common in the United States, and I wanted to learn about them to see if these ideas might be applicable here. As I developed my research, I found that there was a survey conducted in 2003 by the Association of European Conservatories and the Academies of Music and Music Schools, supported by the Connect initiative of the European Union. The survey consisted of a lengthy questionnaire that was mailed to 257 European music schools and generated a report titled Professional Jazz and Pop Music Training in Europe. The 2003 report noted important data missing because few Southern European schools had replied. I adapted this survey as my principal inquiry tool. In preparing to select schools to study, I learned that there were many programs that were created after 2003, and several of these programs exhibited collaborative innovations. The following schools were selected for study: Jazz and Modern Music Department at the University of Lusada in Lisbon, Portugal; the Escola Superior de Música de Lisboa in Lisbon, Portugal; Music Time Music School in Milan, Italy; Siena Jazz National Jazz Academy in Siena, Italy; and Kunst Uni Graz Jazz Department. The first four schools were selected because they exhibited the various collaborative qualities described above. The Graz program was selected to provide a benchmark, since it is one of the longest running and most highly respected jazz programs in Europe. This is a picture of the interview process with the coordinator of the Siena Jazz program, Caterina Beccari. And she was very fluent in English, and the director of the program, Franco Peroni, was not fluent in English at all. So she'd been there for a long time and knew the program very well. It proved very good to have her be the person that I interviewed. In preparations for the interviews, the questionnaire was mailed to each of the schools approximately 2 months before the scheduled interview, and each interview took 45 minutes to an hour to conduct and were recorded with the interlocutor's permission. Upon completing all the interviews and returning home, I transcribed the interviews and emailed a copy of the transcriptions to the interlocutors for their review. They were invited to make corrections and expand their answers if desired, and the amended transcripts were then used to construct the case studies. In addition to information from the questionnaire, I was also able to, at almost all schools, observe classes, rehearsals, and performances, and I was able to interact with many of the students in a variety of contexts. And here's a couple of the contexts. This is at Graz. This is the gentleman that's the third from the left up there is named Gunther Bruck. And this is his, he's faculty member there, and this is his Latin combo that I observed and worked with in their rehearsal. And this is a picture of a discussion I had with a graduate music jazz pedagogy class at the Superior School in Lisbon. These were very, both of the students in these groups were exceptionally bright, good musicians, and well devoted to their topics. The organization of each case study is divided into 4 parts. General information concerning the type of institution, administrative faculty, staff number, etc., number of students, tuition. The curriculum and teaching methods portion, the focus of the program, and then the challenges that were observed by the interlocutor. The time constraints of this setting do not allow me to set forth the case studies, but perhaps if you would like to, after we get into the discussion, we can talk about some of the specifics of the case studies. So I will go right now directly to my observations and conclusions and the suggestions for next steps in this research. The first set of observations was the idea of performance outside of academia. In nearly every case witnessed, jazz concerts were held outside of the main academic facilities. The only exception was a rather informal concert at the Superior Music School in Lisbon. Even that concert was not held in the school's concert hall, but rather in a rehearsal room that had been outfitted with bleacher-like seating. Every other concert observed in each of the 4 schools where observations were made was held outside of the academic facility and in partnership with an outside entity. Even at music time, at which an observation was not possible because of a religious holiday, Director Logiri told me that most of the school's concerts were held in facilities outside the school. This is a picture of a rehearsal held inside the school, and you can tell that it's a fairly restricted space. Their concert hall is approximately this size. Reasons for holding concerts outside of school are as varied as the particular academic and facilities condition of each institution. For instance, at music time, concerts were held in local bars and commercial concert spaces for 2 main reasons. The concert facility, the small concert facility at music time, cannot accommodate an audience, the audience numbers generated by certain genres presented, pop and rock. And there was a small audience turnout when there was no alcohol served at the concert. The extra administrative work it takes to bring beer and wine into music time space is not warranted due to the small size of the facility. So they go out. They go out to places like this place, where that same group presented a concert a little later. This is called La Buca, and the concert space here is about half of what this is. It was a good concert. At USADA, concerts are held outside the facility due to a close relationship the school has with a notable entity, the Hot Club of Portugal, and their jazz school. The Hot Club School is one of those examples of an informal school of jazz that pepper urban centers in Southern Europe. These schools have become an important part of the educational landscape in a variety of ways. In this section, I will address their facilities-related importance. This is a picture of the Hot Club of Portugal. As noted in the preface, many accredited jazz programs in Southern Europe are relative newcomers to the academic world. This means they were added to existing academic institutions. In the case of USADA, the Jazz and Modern Music program is the only music program at the school. Therefore, they were not able to inherit an appropriate facility and had to create one from the ground up. The USADA auditorium is not suitable for jazz concert performances, and neither are the small classrooms converted for rehearsal spaces. To find suitable performance space, they needed to collaborate with an outside entity. And fortunately, the relationship between USADA and the Hot Club is strong and brings value to both parties. The Hot Club provides an appropriate venue for USADA students' performances, and at the same time, USADA performances bring clientele to the club at a low cost and on off nights. Siena Jazz has a similar facilities-driven situation. Siena Jazz is located in the reconstructed Forzetta Medicea. This building is a 16th century military facility built by the Medici to subdue the population of conquered Siena. The administration offices and barracks of the Forzetta have been remodeled to provide the administrative offices, library, and rehearsal classrooms of Siena Jazz. I observed several combo rehearsals and classes in their facility, and while appropriate for these uses, they were not appropriate for concert performances. Therefore, the combo performances at Siena Jazz were held off campus in one of the small clubs of the old city, just a few minutes walk from the Siena Jazz facility. I observed one combo concert at this club that featured two Siena Jazz student ensembles, and here is a picture of the outside of the club. Where is the club? You see that little light on the left-hand side? That's the entrance. Those two old guys talking there are me on the right and Demos from Corfu, Greece, who happened to be there on an Erasmus scholar exchange. And we just ran into each other there. It was pretty cool. Although Siena Jazz has been able to accommodate combo rehearsals and performances, there seems to be a problem with their big band. I observed a big band rehearsal of the typical forces for such an ensemble. That's 5 saxophones, 4 trombones, 4 trumpets, piano, bass, guitar, and drum set. This large and loud group was rehearsing in one of the classroom rehearsal spaces that was entirely too small to accommodate them. In addition to the small size of the room, creating logistical problems of being able to fit the number of musicians, it made for dangerous volume levels. It was not discovered in this research where the big band performed, but there may be other facilities in the old town. In 2017, I attended a meeting of the IASJ Schools of Jazz in Siena, and we presented during that meeting several concerts at various contrada of the city. Contrada is the Siena word for neighborhoods. And it can be imagined that similar facilities are used for large ensemble performances. This is a picture from Graz, Austria. Kuni Graz Jazz in Graz also holds their concerts and some rehearsals in a facility outside of the academic setting. However, this is an even more interesting case than the collaboration of a local commercial venue with an educational institution. The VIST is, well, my German is terrible, Wirtschaftshilfe für Studenten Steiermark. I'll call it WIST. It was founded in order to provide, and this is a quote, our event hall at Moserhof Gras 34 is a venue for artists at a low cost. In addition, we also try to provide a platform for unconventional jazz with our traditional jazz series, Visc Jazz. They also provide lots of housing for their students. That's another function of this. This Visc performance space is located directly across the street from the jazz facility, creating the impression that WIST or VIST is part of the academic facility. In fact, the venue is run with a broader purpose and functions